More than 2,400 years ago, the ancient Greeks built a structure that left all of humanity in awe. Without steel, without machinery, they created a masterpiece with near-perfect proportions, so perfect that even modern architects can hardly believe their eyes. What makes the Parthenon an immortal work of history, and what secrets lie behind its marble stones? Hello, everyone. Join me as we explore the wondrous story of the Parthenon, a temple that not only defies time, but also leaves the scientific world in humble admiration. Let's travel back to a morning on the Acropolis 2,400 years ago. The sunlight shines brilliantly on white marble columns, reflecting a golden shimmer. Before you stands the Parthenon, a temple many call the manifesto of Greek civilization. But what makes it revered as one of the greatest structures in human history? The Parthenon sits atop the Acropolis Hill in Athens, constructed around 447 to 432 BCE during the Golden Age of Athens under the leadership of Pericles. Boardman, J. Greek Architecture, 1995. This temple was dedicated to Athena Parthenos, the goddess of wisdom and patron of the city. It was not merely a religious site. The Parthenon was also a symbol of Athens' political power and democratic civilization. After their victory over the Persian Empire in the Greco-Persian Wars, Athens sought to demonstrate its strength to the world, not just through military might, but through art and architecture. Hurwitz, J.M., The Acropolis in the Age of Pericles, 2004. A timeless architectural marvel. The Parthenon was designed by two master architects, Ictinus and Callicrates, under the supervision of the genius sculptor Phidias. The structure employs the golden ratio, is almost equal to 1 to 1.618, creating absolute harmony that the human eye perceives as perfection. It features 8 columns at the front and back, and 17 columns along its length, each about 10.4 meters tall. The entire structure is built from Pentelic marble, quarried from a site over 16 kilometers from Athens. Remarkably, the Parthenon has no perfectly straight lines. The steps curve slightly upward in the middle, the columns lean inward, and each column has a subtle bulge entasis. These features create a visual illusion of perfection, a sophisticated technique that modern architecture still studies. A meaning beyond religion. The Parthenon was Athens' cultural manifesto, embodying the Greek philosophy of beauty and balance, kalokagathia. It was not just a temple, but a symbol of intellectual strength and freedom, values that formed the foundation of Western civilization. Yet, the question that astonishes scientists is, how? With the rudimentary tools of the 5th century BCE, did the Greeks achieve such near-perfect precision? No structure emerges in a historical vacuum. Behind the Parthenon is the story of a city that had just emerged from war, asserting its dominance in ancient Greece. In the early 5th century BCE, Athens endured fierce wars with the Persian Empire. The legendary battles of Marathon, 490 BCE, and Salamis, 480 BCE, transformed Athens from a small city-state into Greece's greatest naval power. These victories were not just military triumphs, but also boosted national pride. The Athenians believed they were protected by Athena, and to honor both their victory and their goddess, they resolved to build an unprecedented structure, a magnificent temple surpassing all that came before. The mastermind behind this ambitious project was Pericles, Athens' exceptional leader. Not only a politician, Pericles was a patron of the arts and architecture. Under his leadership, Athens entered its Golden Age, when democracy was strengthened and art reached its zenith. Pericles famously declared in his funeral oration, "Athens is the school of Greece." And the Parthenon was the living proof of that declaration. Why was the Parthenon built? Religion, to worship Athena Parthenos, Athena the Virgin, the patron goddess of Athens. Politics, to assert Athens' dominance over Sparta and other rivals. Culture, to embody the spirit of democracy, art, and intellect, the core values of ancient Greece. It was no coincidence that Pericles chose the Acropolis summit for the Parthenon. This elevated position, rising above the city, served as a symbolic beacon of Athens' greatness. Construction began in 447 BCE and was completed in 432 BCE, taking about 15 years. Workforce: thousands of craftsmen, artisans, and sculptors were involved. Materials: over 22,000 tons of Pentelic marble were transported from a quarry 16 kilometers away. Cost: partly funded by the Delian League's treasury, leading to criticism that Athens used shared funds for its own symbolic project. Despite controversies, the Parthenon became the pinnacle of ancient Greek architecture, a marvel that the world still gazes upon in awe. When discussing the Parthenon, what astounds modern architects most is the perfection in every detail. The temple's beauty lies not just in its size or precious materials, but in its adherence to an almost absolute principle: the golden ratio. Aesthetic rule the ancient Greeks mastered over 2,400 years ago. From a distance, the Parthenon exudes perfect symmetry. Yet, curiously, no line is truly straight, no angle perfectly square. Everything is calculated to deceive the eye. The temple's foundation is not flat, but curves upward by about 6 to 7 centimeters at the center. The columns are not perfectly vertical but tilt inward at a slight angle, such that if extended upward, they would meet at a height of about 2 kilometers. Even the column's shafts are not uniform cylinders but subtly bulge in the middle, a technique called entasis, to create a sense of strength and elegance. Why such complexity? The Greeks understood that if all lines were perfectly straight and parallel, the human eye would perceive the structure as distorted. By introducing subtle curves, they turned visual illusion into perfect beauty. This level of optical and geometric understanding is something modern structures still emulate. Moreover, the entire Parthenon was designed according to the golden ratio, is almost equal to 1 to 1.618. This ratio appears everywhere, in the length-to-width proportions, the height-to-width, and the spacing between columns. It creates an absolute harmony that feels naturally beautiful to the human eye, though it was calculated to the millimeter. The materials used for the Parthenon are equally astonishing. The structure was built almost entirely from Pentelic marble, a stone renowned for its white hue with a golden shimmer under sunlight, creating a dazzling visual effect atop the Acropolis. Imagine the sheer effort. Over 22,000 tons of stone transported from a quarry 16 kilometers away without machinery, relying solely on human strength and rudimentary tools. Yet, the stones were cut and joined with such precision that, in many places, a blade cannot fit between the seams. Every sculptural detail on the Parthenon contributes to its perfection. From the frieze running around the structure depicting the Panathenaic procession to the metopes carved with legendary battles between Greeks and mythical creatures, all were crafted by artisans under limited lighting and with basic tools. And let's not forget, the Parthenon was not the plain white we see today. Modern research reveals it was once adorned with vibrant colors: red, blue, gold, making it a vivid spectacle under the Mediterranean sun. Remarkably, this was all achieved in just 15 years, an unbelievable feat given the intricacy and scale. The Parthenon was not merely a temple to Athena, it was Athens' declaration of intellect, aesthetics, and power. It proved that when a civilization reaches its peak, it can create timeless works that even modern technology struggles to rival. But the lingering question remains: how did they achieve such near-perfect precision without steel, cranes, or modern cutting tools? 22,000 tons of marble, thousands of details assembled with millimeter precision. And all this was done over 2,400 years ago, without steel, cutting machines, or cranes. How did they do it? The Parthenon is not just an artistic masterpiece, but a technical marvel of humanity. In the context of the 5th century BCE, without modern machinery, the Greeks devised transportation and assembly methods so sophisticated that even today's engineers marvel. The journey of the massive stones. The primary material for the Parthenon was Pentelic marble, quarried from Mount Penteli, over 16 kilometers from Athens. Each block weighed from hundreds of kilograms to several tons. How did they transport them to the Acropolis, a hill 70 meters high? The answer lies in ancient mechanical ingenuity. The Greeks used wooden and earth ramps to drag stones from the quarry to the base of the mountain. Flat sledges combined with log rollers for long-distance transport. Tightly woven flax ropes to secure and pull the stones. At the foot of the Acropolis, they built a spiral ramp around the hill to haul the stones to the summit. The ramp was sloped just enough for dozens of people or animals to pull each block upward. Lifting and assembly system, advanced pulley mechanisms. The ancient Greeks understood leverage and pulley principles. They used massive wooden scaffolds combined with multi-tiered pulley systems to lift stones into precise positions. Notches carved into some stones reveal they were fitted with wooden or iron pegs to aid lifting. What astonishes modern engineers is the precision of the joints. The columns were not single blocks, but assembled from circular stone segments, drums. To ensure stability, they used wooden and bronze dowels to lock the segments together, maintaining perfect balance. The stones were joined so tightly that a blade cannot slip between the seams. No mortar was used. This technique allowed the Parthenon to withstand earthquakes and time for over 2 millennia. The secret of precision, mathematics, and experimentation. Researchers believe the Greeks used a highly accurate measurement system based on Euclidean geometry and optical experimentation. This explains the nonlinear details like curved steps, tilted columns, and bulging shafts, all calculated to create a perfect visual illusion from a distance. A feat of speed. Incredibly, the entire structure was completed in just 15 years, 447 to 432 BCE. Given the intricacy and volume of work, this is a testament to Athens' organizational and resource mobilization capabilities at the time. Yet, despite its technical triumph, the Parthenon could not escape a tragic fate as Athens declined. In the next chapter, we'll explore the dramatic story, how a masterpiece became ruins, and why its stones still spark controversy today. There's a bitter irony. The greatest structures are not destroyed by time, but by human hands. And the Parthenon is the most painful proof of that. When Athens was at its golden peak, the Parthenon was the greatest religious center, where citizens offered tributes to Athena. But that glory did not last forever. After Greece fell to the Roman Empire, and later the Byzantine era, the Parthenon lost its original significance. In the 6th century CE, it was converted into a Christian church called the Church of the Virgin Mary of Athens. Greek god statues were destroyed, and many ancient carvings were defaced to align with new rituals. By the 15th century, when the Ottoman Empire conquered Athens, the Parthenon faced another transformation. It became a mosque, with a minaret erected within its classical structure. This not only disrupted its aesthetic, but marked a dark turning point in its history. The worst tragedy struck in 1687, when Venice attacked the Ottoman forces in Athens. The Ottomans had turned the Parthenon into a gunpowder storage, and when a cannonball hit, a massive explosion blew off much of the roof, collapsed several columns, and destroyed countless priceless sculptures. In a single moment, the perfect architectural masterpiece became ruins. The Parthenon's remnants faced further hardship. In the early 19th century, Thomas Bruce, Lord Elgin, the British ambassador to the Ottoman Empire, removed dozens of statues and reliefs, taking them to Britain. These pieces, now called the Elgin marbles, are displayed at the British Museum. This act sparked one of history's greatest cultural controversies. Greece demands their return, viewing them as national treasures. Britain maintains their acquisition was legal under Ottoman law. To this day, the issue remains unresolved, symbolizing the battle over cultural heritage between nations. Imagine, from a perfect structure built in 15 years, the Parthenon was reduced to a skeletal frame of stone due to war, religion, and human greed. Yet, even as ruins, it retains the power of a symbol, reminding humanity of the fragility of great values. The Parthenon is not just a building. It is a colossal mythological museum carved in stone, where every line tells a story of gods and humans. Though today it stands as broken stones, the Parthenon was once the pinnacle of ancient Greek art, uniting the talents of hundreds of artisans under the supervision of master sculptor Phidias. What remains still leaves archaeologists and art scholars in awe, not merely as decoration, but as a message of the strength, faith, and philosophy of a civilization. At its heart was the statue of Athena Parthenos, about 12 meters tall, crafted from ivory and gold. In her hand, Athena held a statue of Nike, the goddess of victory, while her shield depicted legendary battles. The statue no longer exists, but replicas and records suggest it was one of antiquity's most opulent and awe-inspiring works. It was not just a religious icon, but a political statement. Athens was the city protected by the goddess of wisdom. Surrounding the Parthenon were intricate reliefs and statues narrating tales from Greek mythology. Panathenaic frieze, a 160-meter-long relief encircling the temple, depicting the Panathenaic procession, Athens' most significant ritual. It showed not only gods but also Athenian citizens, reflecting the democratic and communal spirit of the Golden Age. Metapiece, rectangular carved panels on the walls, illustrating legendary battles. Lapiths versus centaurs, Amazonomachy, Greeks versus Amazons, and Gigantomachy, gods versus giants. These were not just art, but metaphors for order and reason triumphing over chaos. Pediments, triangular sculptures at the temple's ends, depicting Athena's birth and her contest with Poseidon for patronage of Athens. These details were once painted in vibrant colors, red, blue, gold, and adorned with gold and bronze, creating a dazzling spectacle under the Mediterranean sun. Greek sculptors achieved a level where stone seemed to breathe. Muscles pulsed with strength, drapery flowed like wind, and facial expressions were hauntingly real. Each work was a testament to the Greek philosophy. Humans and gods alike adhere to the laws of beauty and balance. Yet, what pains the world is that most of these masterpieces were destroyed or removed. The Elgin marbles at the British Museum remain a global point of contention. Greece wants them returned to their rightful place, under Athens' sky, beside the Parthenon's ruins. But so far, that call remains unanswered. On the Acropolis today, the Parthenon is no longer the complete marvel it was 2,400 years ago. Only broken columns and scattered stones remain under the sun and wind. Yet, even in ruins, it still commands the world's awe. The question is, do we have the ability to protect what remains of this dream? The Parthenon today is a symbol of Greece and Western civilization, recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It draws millions of visitors annually, a must-see for anyone who loves art and history. But this beauty faces serious threats. Preservation challenges, when time and pollution become enemies. Air pollution in Athens is eroding the Pentelic marble. Climate change and acid rain are damaging the fragile sculpted surfaces. Minor earthquakes pose a risk to the structure's stability. The Greek government and international organizations have undertaken major restoration projects, using modern technology to reinforce and preserve what remains. But the question is, are we merely protecting ruins or truly preserving the soul of a masterpiece? An unresolved controversy. Who owns the heritage? The issue of the Parthenon's fragments, particularly the Elgin marbles at the British Museum, remains fiercely debated. Greece considers them part of its national soul, while Britain maintains their legal ownership under Ottoman-era laws. Many scholars call this Europe's unhealed cultural wound. The Parthenon, more than stone and columns. When we look at the Parthenon's remains, we see not just a structure, but a reminder of the strength and fragility of human civilization. It tells us that even the most radiant civilizations can fall, but the values they create, art, philosophy, freedom, can endure if preserved. And the final question for all of us, 500 years from now, will our descendants still see what we admire today? Or will the Parthenon exist only in memory and books, like so many wonders lost to the world? Thank you for joining me on this journey to uncover the mysteries of the Parthenon. If you love stories about wonders in history, please hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to catch our next videos. Don't forget to leave a comment. What's the most mysterious aspect of the Parthenon to you? We'd love to hear your thoughts.